Hi, I'm Stuart from the Norfolk Honey Company and welcome back to our MAISEMORE Apiaries sponsored series of videos for 2017. Today we're going to be replacing one of our wooden hives, a wooden commercial hive, with a full commercial poly hive which we've been supplied with by MAISEMORE Apiaries, and instead of just doing a straight transfer we're going to carry out something called a Bailey comb exchange, and that's where you can use a method of replacing comb without sacrificing any of the brood, and it entails using two brood boxes and trapping the queen in the upper brood box whilst retaining all of the old brood frames in a lower box. It's an ideal method for replacing all of the combs in one go. It's a great way of renewing all of the frames, so if you've got some very old frames, some very old wax, maybe the virus or disease loading on it with maybe chalk brood or deformed wing virus, that kind of thing, maybe the loading is getting really high in this particular colony, and so you want to change all of the frames, but you don't want to sacrifice any of the brood because you want to maintain the colony strength. The Bailey comb exchange is a great way of renewing all of the hive parts without sacrificing the brood. So we're going to go across to one of the hives and we're going to prepare the brand new MAISEMORE Apiaries commercial poly hive, and then we're going to transfer all the frames across to it. But instead of leaving it there, we're going to find the queen, move her into the top box, and then get a feeder onto them because they'll have a full set of new foundation in the top box that they'll need to draw. So we'll get the smoker lit and we'll head over to the hive. This is the colony that we're going to swap out into the poly hive, but we're also going to perform the Bailey comb exchange. So we've got two brood bodies, but just the rest of it is a standard hive complete. So we're going to move this hive out of the way, position the poly hive on the old hive's stand site, and then we're going to transfer the bees across. So that's the first stage, and then the second stage we're going to find the queen and move her up into the top brood box and trap her there by putting a queen excluder between the two brood boxes. This is going to be a really heavy hive, so I've got Steph here to give me a hand. So we're going to take the entire hive, including the stand, and we're just going to lift it over to where Steph's standing. Okay, so now we can position the new poly hive on the... Before I do that, I'm just going to open up the entrance. Now the bottom box is going to take all of the frames from the old hive, so we need to have this empty. So we'll take this box off, which has got all the spare frames in it, and we'll pop the empty box into it nice and square, and then we can open this hive. Okay, so we're going to remove the super, so we don't need to worry about the super, and as we transfer the bees across, we're going to have a quick look, do an inspection, and see if we can see the queen as we go. And at the same time we can do a little bit of housework and tidy up some of the wax. Just remove some of the burr comb. So we've transferred all of the bees across and we didn't find the queen, and with a Bailey comb exchange it's important that you find the queen because you need to put her into the top box. So we're going to go through, we've moved the old hive out of the way, and we're now going to carry out a second run through of all the frames to see if we can see the queen. She is a marked queen. They haven't swarmed at all this year, so she should be in here, so we're going to carry out another inspection. So we found the queen, I've got her in the cage, and she's now going to go into the top box. But what we also need is a frame that she can lay eggs into, and so I've selected this frame. There's an area of emerging brood that will give her cells that she can immediately start laying into. So we'll take that frame out, and I'm just going to replace it with a frame of foundation in the bottom box, and then close up the bottom box as if we had just completed an inspection. I'm going to just clean off some of the propolis on the top here so that the new queen excluder will fit nice and snug. Okay, so we've cleaned off the propolis. I'll just take this little bit of wax off the top. So I think the queen excluder will fit on there quite nicely now. And we can pop the last remaining frame in. Too many bees on this frame to be able to slide in easily, so we'll just shake the bees off gently onto the top of the frames, and then we can pop that in. This colony is going to need a dummy board at the end, so I shall bring over a dummy board next time so that we've got a protection against the side. And the next thing to do is to pop the queen excluder on. And this for me is the tricky bit, because the bees are actually, if you're not careful, are going to get squished underneath, because it lies flush pretty much with the top of the frames. So you just have to give the bees a little bit of a moment or two to find their way out, otherwise you'll end up crushing bees. And we're going to watch that quite closely. So the next thing is to place the second brood box on top of this box. Carefully on again to try and avoid crushing any bees. And so now we have a top box that's full with frames of foundation, and then we have one frame that we're going to place in the middle that the queen can go onto, and then she can lay into this. Bees will come up to her and they'll start drawing the foundation, but the nurse bees will stay below in the bottom box and take care of the brood until it's ready to emerge. So just take the propolis off this frame. Okay, so we can just remove this frame, and now I can release the queen back. And there's the queen, and she's back onto her frame. Gently in, and then we can close this up, and then on top of this we're going to place the feeder. Okay, so we've got the feeder. We just need to be mindful of these bees that are drifting around. They're going to be very confused right now. So we've got the feeder on. Again, I've got the feeder going across all of the frames, and I'll just leave this cover board on just to stop the bees from getting in there. I'm using 1:1 sugar syrup as usual at this time of the year, so that's a kilo of sugar to a litre of water. And what I'm going to do is to just dribble a little bit of the sugar syrup down the middle, so so that the bees will realise it's here and come up for it. Pop the cover board back on. I'll just get the roof. So what we've now done is we've transferred a full-size colony into one of the MAISEMORE apiary's commercial poly hives, and again I'm very grateful to Jonathan and the team at MAISEMORE Apiaries for supporting us in these videos. If you've not yet subscribed, please do consider subscribing, and if you do hit the subscribe button, don't forget to hit the little bell symbol, and that will give you an alert each time we publish a new video. We're also on Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow us there and have a look at some of the photographs and tips and techniques that we're posting there. And don't forget the Facebook group, which is Stuart's Beekeeping Basics, where we've got a growing group of beekeepers of a whole range of experience, willing to help answer any questions that you might have. Finally, don't forget that we've got our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Norfolk Honey, which is where you can help support us in producing more of these videos. We're going to pop back probably in a few days' time just to check up on that feeder and make sure the feed's all topped up. But until next time, thanks for watching.